Lord Vishnu was present. It is significant in this verse that the Brahmanas say, simply by chanting your holy name, we can surpass the obstacles. You are personally present. The performance of yajna by Daksha was obstructed by the disciples and followers of Lord Shiva. The Brahmanas indirectly criticized the followers of Lord Shiva. But because the Brahmanas were always protected by Lord Vishnu, Shiva's followers could not do any harm to their prosecution of the sacrificial process. There is a saying that when Krishna protects someone, no one can do him harm, and when Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can protect him. The vivid example was Ravana. Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but when Lord Ramachandra wanted to kill him, Lord Shiva could not protect him. If some demigod, even Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, wants to do harm to a devotee, Krishna protects the devotee. But when Krishna wants to kill someone, such as Ravana or Hiranyakashipu, no demigod can protect him. Well, that's very good information. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Text 48. Sri Maitreya said, after Lord Vishnu was glorified by all present, Daksha, his consciousness purified, arranged to begin again the yajna which had been devastated by the followers of Lord Shiva. Text 49. Maitreya continued, my dear sinless Vidura, Lord Vishnu is actually the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. Yet, because of his being the super soul of all living beings, he was satisfied simply with his share of the sacrificial offerings. He therefore addressed Daksha as a pleasing attitude, in a pleasing attitude. He therefore addressed Daksha in a pleasing attitude. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 5.29, it says, Bhaktaram Yajnatapasam. Lord Vishnu, or Krishna, is the supreme enjoyer of all the results of sacrifices, austerities, and penances, in whatever one may engage. The ultimate goal is Vishnu. If a person does not know that, he is misled. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu has nothing to demand from anyone. He is self-satisfied, self-sufficient, but he accepts the offerings of yajna because of his friendly attitude toward all living entities. When his share of the sacrificial results was offered to him, he appeared very pleased. It is said in Bhagavad Gita 9:26, Patram pushpam phalam tuyam yome bhaktya prayachati. If anyone offers him even a small leaf or a flower or water, if it is offered with love and affection, the Lord accepts it and is pleased. Although he is self-sufficient and does not need anything from anyone, he accepts such offerings because, as Super Soul, he has such a friendly attitude toward all living entities. Another point here is that he does not encroach upon another's share. In the yajna, there is a share for the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, and a share for Lord Vishnu. He is satisfied with his own share and does not encroach upon others. Indirectly, he indicated that he was not satisfied with Daksha's trying to deny Lord Shiva his share. Maitreya addressed Vidura as sinless because Vidura was a pure Vaishnava and never committed any offense to any demigod. Although Vaishnavas accept Lord Vishnu as the supreme, they are not prone to offend demigods. They give the demigods proper respect. Vaishnavas accept Lord Shiva as the best Vaishnava. For a Vaishnava, there is no possibility of offending any demigods, and the demigods are also pleased with the Vaishnava because they are faultless devotees of Lord Vishnu. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Text number 50. Lord Vishnu replies, Brahma, Lord Shiva, and I are the supreme cause of the material manifestation. I am the supersoul, the self-sufficient witness. But impersonally, there's no difference between Brahma, Lord Shiva, and me. Purport. Lord Brahma was born out of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva was born out of the body of Brahma. Lord Vishnu, therefore, is the supreme cause. In the Vedas also it is stated that in the beginning there was only Vishnu, Narayana. There was no Brahma or Shiva. Similarly, Sankaracharya confirmed in his Narayana Para. Narayana, or Lord Vishnu, is the origin of Brahma. Shiva are manifest, and Brahma and Shiva are manifested after creation. Lord Vishnu is also Atmeshvara, the super soul in everyone. Under his direction, everything is prompted from within. For example, in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Tene Brahma Hrida. He first educated Lord Brahma from within. In Bhagavad Gita 10.2, Lord Krishna states, Aham Adir Devanam. Lord Vishnu or Krishna is the origin of all demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. In another place, in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Krishna states, Aham Sarvasva Prabhava. Everything is generated from me. This includes all the demigods. Similarly, the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadaseta, and in the Upanishads is the statement, Yato va imani bhutani jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him, and everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him create the cosmic manifestation and also dissolve the whole creation. Thus, the Lord is the cause and the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman, Sarvam Klav Idam Brahma. In the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman, and therefore Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him, meaning Krishna. Okay.
So, one question.
Yeah.
So many. So this verse actually says that okay, a lot of people take maybe sometimes like literal this meaning, saying that I mean without reading the purport I explained, but it says that I'm impersonally non-different from Brahma and Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Impersonally non-different. So they start actually maybe saying that oh everything is same, like Shiva, we do not compare, something like that. So here also because it says that it's not different than Brahma and Lord Shiva. How does how do we understand this?
Well, everything is emanating from Lord Vishnu. And so there is a relationship uh, between Lord Vishnu and everything else that has been emanated from him. So that's the way we understand.
Correct.
He's
But
the
then,
origin of everything.
yeah, but when they say that no, impersonally non-different, means that I don't understand that.
Uh,
In the translation, last line,
yeah,
they say that
everything is
uh,
generated from me.
Vishnu is saying that I am impersonally non-different than Brahman. So,
Well, yeah, because everything is coming from him.
okay.
So there is a direct connection between uh, all the living entities and Lord Vishnu. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Everything is generated from me.
Mm.
That means there's a direct
Origin source.
connection between Lord Vishnu and all other living entities. This includes all the demigods. Similarly, in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadasayata, and in the Upanishads is the statement, Yatova Imani Bhutani Jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him, and everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him, meaning Lord Vishnu, create the cosmic manifestations and also dissolve the whole creation. Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. That means he's everything.
So does that mean Maharaj, like, see, personally they are different, but impersonally means they are saying that Vishnu is saying that through energy we are same, but if you see the personal form we are different. Is that how you can? So it's specifically impersonally. That's why I was like kind of because if you say personally, then they are different persons like Vishnu, Shiva, and
This
Brahma.
is the philosophy of Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva.
Mm.
Everything is one and different at the same time. Everything is uh, uh, what you would call in, uh,
Simultaneously, one and different.
everything is um, at one time everything is one and different. So it's incomprehensible uh, to normal people.
Mm.
But this proves that there's a difference between Krishna and the normal people like us. We cannot claim that we are one and different at every moment. Therefore, it says Vedanta, similar in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadasayata, and in the Upanishads is the statement Yatova Imani Bhutani Jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him, and everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him, meaning Lord Vishnu, create the cosmic manifestations and also dissolve the whole creation. Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. That's the main statement. He's the cause and the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. That's Achintya Beda Abheda Tattva philosophy.
Mm.
He is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman, Sarvam Klav Idam Brahma. In the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman, and therefore Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him. So this is difficult to understand because how can you say everything is one and different? We can understand uh, that everything is one, but it's hard to understand that everything is one and different.
Mm.
So, uh, but that is the fact. It's mysterious. How can everything be one and different? Well, in a mundane sense, you know it, everything is one, you understand that. But at the same time, one and different, you get confused. How can there be one and different? But that's what it means here. It means that everything is generated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everything is generated from me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So that means that everyone is one and different than the Lord simultaneously. The Lord is the origin of everything. So everybody has a relationship to the Lord, but everyone has individual, uh, let's say, existence. But at the same time, everyone is part and parcel of the Lord. So this is in Vedic philosophy. Yatova imani bhutani jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him, and everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him create the cosmic manifestations and also dissolve the whole creation. Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. It's very difficult for materialistic people to understand this. But this is Vedic philosophy. That at the same time that the Lord is the cause, he's also the effect. That means that we have all come from Krishna, and we have everything we do is under the control of the Lord. So there's no independent existence, although it looks like there is. We're all connected to the Lord, and He knows everything that we are doing, but we have some limited free will. So therefore, it looks as if we are sometimes independent of the Lord, but in reality, we're not. Uh, but we have what's called limited free will.
Maybe, Maharaj, even we can relate to that, like in a family. Right? Family is one,
And
but
different.
and still at the same time, individuals are different.
Yes.
So I think these lines little bit help me understand it, because he's saying that whatever the effect we see is the interaction of his energy. Means Vishnu, sorry, these are Krishna's energies, different energy. So the energy which creates, the energy which destroys, and the energy which maintains. And those energies personified with maybe Vishnu, Shiva, because if it's destruction energy, then it's Shiva, or creation energy, which Brahma. So personally, they may be different, but impersonally, as his energy are same, coming from Vishnu.
Yeah.
That's how we I can understand.
Well, I'm glad you understand. Okay, so basically our takeaway here is that thus the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. This is the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. He is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman. Sarvam Klav Idam Brahman. In the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman, and therefore Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him. Him is Krishna. So, you, me, and everyone else, we are all one and different at the same time. We have no independent existence from Krishna. But there seems to be independent existence, right?
Mhm.
So that's actually Maya, though. When we acknowledge that we are part and parcel of the Lord, then we have to act according to the desire of the Lord. But some people are not cooperating. So it looks like they're separate from the Lord, but actually they're never really separate from the Lord. Everything and everyone is part and parcel of the Lord. But they can, due to limited free will, the important word here is limited. So there is some limited free will that everyone has, but it's limited. They're not actually, we are not actually completely independent of the Lord. So, therefore, it says, Yatova imani bhutani jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him. And everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him, meaning Krishna, create the cosmic manifestations and also dissolve the whole creation. Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. So nothing is independent of Krishna. Some things appear independent, but they're not in reality. Right?
Yeah.
Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. Okay, so that's beta, a beta tattva.
Yeah.
Everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman, Sarvam Tvad Idam Brahman. In the highest vision, nothing is behind Brahman, and therefore Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him, meaning Krishna. But at the same time, they are. So you see, when it says one and different, when everybody cooperates with Krishna, everyone is one with Krishna. It doesn't mean that everyone loses their individuality. It means they all agree with Krishna. But they also have their personal, they never lose their personal identity. Now, why are they going through so much trouble to explain this? Because the Mayavadis say everything is one, right? And but the Vaishnava philosophy says everything is one and different at the same time. So that's achintya, abheda tattva. Whereas the Mayavadis, they say everything is one. They don't say one and different.
Mhm. Yeah. But they just
So
want
it's
energy.
inconceivably one and different. The Mayavadis eliminate that one and different. They say everything is one.
Because they are just on an energy level, Maharaj. That's why. Because they
What?
don't see the personal form, right? I mean, they don't
Yes.
appreciate. They are just like impersonal level. That's why probably they are seeing this.
Yes, you can think of it like that. Yes. So the Vaishnava philosophy is unique. It's easy to say everything is one, right? But it's confusing to say one and different at the same time. So you can understand everything is different. That's not difficult to understand.
Mhm.
You can understand everything is one.
Yeah.
But when you say everything is one and different, people get confused. Yeah. Okay. So what is our takeaway? Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman. Sarvam Klav Idam Brahman. In the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman. And therefore, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him. So, put it like this. A child is born from parents, right? So you can say the child is one and different than the parents. So the body of the child is coming from the parents. So that means one. But also the child has independence, limited independence. So one and different. So when the child cooperates with the parents, the child is one. But the child still has its own, let's say, makes its own decisions. So therefore, simultaneously one and different. When we agree to cooperate with our parents, we are one with them. But we still have our individual identity. Whereas the Mayavadis, they say everything is one. So they deny the existence of universal individuality. They deny it. They say everything is Brahman, everything is one.
Right.
Ultimately, right? Where the Vaishnavas say everything is one and different. We never lose our identity. But by cooperating with the Lord, we are one with the Lord. But still, we have our individual identity. The Mayavadis say everything is one. So there's no individual identity. There's only one thing. It's called Brahman. So they basically, what do? They crash everything into one. Or they say that the individuality is Maya. They don't accept that everything is at the same time one and different. So the devotees say everything is one and different at the same time. Mayavadis say everything is one. There's no different at all. So that's the major difference between the two philosophies.
One point here, Maharaj, like last sentence says, in the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman.
Yes.
But is that like
Nothing exists outside of Brahman. What?
Spiritual world exists beyond Brahman.
I didn't hear you.
Spiritual world
Yes.
is beyond Brahman, right?
What do you mean by that? Beyond Brahman? Independent?
Yeah, they're not independent. Brahman
in
is
fact,
basically
Krishna says he is the source of Brahman. Right?
Here it says nothing's beyond Brahman. And therefore, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him, meaning Lord Krishna. So they're simultaneously one and different. Now, everybody can understand, oh yeah, they're all one, I understand. Or else they say, well, they're different. Yeah, I understand it. But when you say they're simultaneously and inconceivably one and different, people get confused. How can they be one and different?
Mm.
That is the philosophy of Vaishnava. And everything is one and different. Like, for example, your child is one with you, but also different because your child has, I mean, you don't see it when they're just a baby, but when they get older, you say, wow, this is my child, but the child has its own thoughts and desires and can revolt against you or can be always serving the parents. Uh, so you have to recognize at one point that the child is one and different. Yes.
So Brahman is so I think Brahman.
Let us.
The question about what he just said, Maharaj. The child example that holds as long as the person is a child. Once they're an adult, then they're different, right? They're not dependent on the parent. Whereas in the case of the Lord and us, they're always dependent. Once the child grows up, the child is not dependent because when the child is younger, he or she
If it's a good child, they are one and different. If it's a bad child, the child rejects the oneness. But that's not. But that's not normal. What's normal is that we're one and different. What's abnormal is when a child revolts against parents, tries to act independently, then the difference is just different.
how does the cause and effect work? What's the when you're a baby?
Well, it's difficult to understand cause and effect. You're the cause of everything, and you're also the effect. And most people see a difference between the original cause of something and the effect of it. But here it's saying that, what does it say? Let me read it. And in the Upanishads is the statement, Yatova imani bhutani jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu. Everything is maintained by him. Everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him create the cosmic manifestation and also dissolve the whole creation. So that's talking about the energies of the Lord. Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. So, talking about the energies of the Lord, the energies of the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energies. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. So the key statement here is that the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energies. That's the key statement. Because the energy is generated from him. He is both cause and effect. In other words, all the energies in the material world are coming from Krishna. So whatever you see is the cause and the effect of the Lord. It's not that the cause is different, the effect is different. No, it's all connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas when someone revolts against Krishna, then he tries to break the cause of existence, break away from the cause of existence, right? And people reject the existence of Krishna and their relationship to Krishna. But that is a false situation. We're never independent of Krishna. And that now, once you become a devotee, you actually understand I am one and different from Krishna. I am part and parcel of the Lord. So part you can understand. Parcel means that even though you are coming from Krishna, and you have many things that are related to Krishna, but at the same time, you have limited free will. So you can decide to voluntarily cooperate with Krishna, or you can reject Krishna. So, but the fact that you're part and parcel of Krishna can never be denied, can never be destroyed. So even when you reject Krishna, you're still under the control of the Lord.
In the case of parent and child, then Maharaj, even when the child grows up, the cause is still the parents, right? Your body and all of these things came from the parents.
Yeah.
And even hereditary, right? A lot of things. You think, oh, you're independent. It is being carried from your parents. And you are coming from the cause.
Yeah. And also,
That I'm trying to understand the analogy, like from Krishna and the material world, the material energies were created by Krishna, and the effect is the interaction of these energies. Since it is coming from the things that are created by Krishna, the cause and effect are the same. I'm trying to understand the parent and child example. When the child is younger, yes, makes sense. When the child grows up to be an adult, how does the cause and effect work in that case? How are they connected with the parent?
Through love and devotion. But the child has an opportunity to reject the parents. So, but even if they reject the parents, they're still part and parcel. You see, so the position of rejecting the parents is actually a false thing. It's illusory.
How are they part and parcel once they are an adult? How are they part and parcel of the parent once the child becomes an adult?
Where did they come from? They came from the body of the
I
parents.
think if we see from the material bodily angle, then I think we are different.
Different, yeah.
But spiritually, if you see, we are connected very close.
Different, but it came originally from parent.
No, still we are looking at the bodily platform.
I mean, another way, I think some other analogies that Prabhupada has given Maharaj is like one is the fire generates heat and light. Heat and light are different.
One and different.
One and different. So heat and light, they independently can be treated as heat separate from fire. But without the fire, heat won't be there.
Because without the parent, the child doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. So in the same example of the child, yeah, we interpret that the child is independent, but then the child wouldn't have existed without the parent. The same, the sun and sunlight example also gives the same.
Yeah, just to give an example, I think when kids are growing, I think it makes sense. In my case, my both kids are going to college, I understand. Even though they are in college, I always think what they're doing that is.
Are you paying for your kids' education?
There is one match. It's the same bank account where the money is going.
They are thinking what they're doing.
Well, there's this philosophy of simultaneously and inconceivably one indifference. Well, that means that it's going to be hard to understand because it's inconceivable. Right? But it's a fact, though. Even though we may have a difficulty understanding, it's a fact. It's simultaneously, we are simultaneously in one and different from Krishna. So some people want to reject their oneness with Krishna. And they artificially reject the existence of Krishna and go on their happily way, committing sinful activities and being sense gratification. But when you understand that you are one with Krishna, but you still have limited free will, so you can be different also. So limited free will is what confuses people. Either they have complete will, complete independence, or they don't have complete independence. Right? They're completely dependent. But you can understand they have no independence, or they do have limited free will. But simultaneously one and different. It's difficult philosophy for most people to understand.
Yeah, Maharaj, that's where we get a lot of confusion, especially myself also. Like limited free will, how to enforce which one is
How to
good
what?
to,
How to
how
what?
to identify and say, because we get a lot of choices. We don't know what one is good, which one is coming from Krishna for me good, or I should follow, which one not to follow sometimes.
Well, it's like a criminal. The criminal thinks that he can get away with criminal behavior. He believes it. He's convinced that he's, uh, you know, uh, capable of performing the perfect crime, never getting caught. Now, when he gets caught, now he realizes that he was in a state of illusion. So, limited free will means if you want to reject Krishna, you can. Krishna's not going to stop you. But in reality, you will never really be independent of the Lord. So it's illusory to think that you can be independent. And you will see it happen that you get old, you get sick, and you die. So you're never really independent of the Lord. Right? But if during a major part of your life, you believe that you are independent.
Yeah, Maharaj, in this case, like for example, when kids grows up and they get a job, they get three companies, for example. How to select? Because that's where
You
they
get what?
confused.
3
Say
companies?
if they get three jobs or three colleges, it becomes very tough, right? Because if you select one college, then you will have some implication on what course to say, whether to do engineering or doctor or veterinary, something. It's very hard to decide. Like,
Well, no, then you become, you take the, what's called,
Counselor, college counselor.
no, you take, what's the name? You, you don't take any specific course of knowledge. You become what?
Generalist.
Yeah, like for example, when I was going to college, I became a English, what do you call it?
Major.
Major, yeah. That means you're not really working on a path of being something.
Yeah, yeah, no specialization.
Yeah, exactly. So when you get a degree in English literature, right? Now, what job can you get? Right.
Professor.
Well, maybe or maybe not. It's pretty. It's not really clear what your vocation is. You say, well, I got a PhD in English. Okay, you got a PhD, but what are you going to do with it? Right? There was this one guy, who's a devotee. He got a PhD in volcanoes. I'm not kidding you. Okay, then what do you do with that PhD?
Well, in that case, that's actually specialization. Such a specialization that doesn't have market.
What do you do with a PhD in volcanoes? Right? So,
Not
But I
many
think
work.
they can get one of my friend's wife, she's doing PhD in Arctic ice.
and what?
Ice in Arctic,
Ice.
Antarctica, Arctic,
Ice?
yeah, ice in Arctic.
Yeah.
And
Arctic.
she works in the government.
Well, she's a polar bear.
They go on a flight to Antarctica and Arctic area. And they measure how the ice is changing. They get jobs in these, in all these soft jobs like quality, long
But
way.
mostly all that funds have been stopped.
Slowly, otherwise.
Well, that's like building a bridge to nowhere. There are sometimes there's extra money, so they build a bridge to nowhere. In other words, they build a bridge, it's there, but when you get to the end of the bridge, there's nothing. There's all, it's all just what you would call, yeah, just empty land. So you built the bridge, it goes somewhere, but when you get there, there's nothing there. There's no no industries. There's no buildings. There's nothing, right? It's just raw land. So your bridge to nowhere is a failure. Right? So like someone who gets a PhD in volcanoes. Now, what kind of job can you get? Well, yeah, there are some jobs you can get, but they're very limited. Right. It's just like, you get a degree in English. Okay. So what can you do with it? Well, you can become a teacher and teach the English language. Right. But it's limited. You're not going to become an IT person if you get a PhD in English. But you can still become an IT person, but your all the studying you did and all the qualifications you have is not for IT. It's for the English language. Right? So there are a lot of let's say realities that come. To make money, you might not be able to make much money by being an English teacher. So one uses their ability to speak nicely and have some control or some perfection in English language to become an IT person. So they're not really doing what they were trained to do. They did something else, but then they realized they couldn't make any money with what they chose as a career path. So now they switched over to IT.
They can do technical writers.
Yeah. Actually, what is real knowledge? It's not IT. It's not this or that. It's what you know about Krishna and how to serve Krishna and how to surrender to Krishna. That's real knowledge. All these other things are just what you would call just to get a job. It's not really your real vocation in life. It's simply to make a living. Okay? So you're going to spend so much money just to make a living. It's not going to liberate you from the cycle of birth and death. So they don't really have an education. You have something that permits you to put food on the table, but not actually to liberate you from the cycle of birth and death. So that type of education is actually illusory. It doesn't really solve the problem of life. Right? So you have to think about it, what is your career path? Well, our real career path should be to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death. It's not to be an English teacher and just teach how to speak the English language. It's not to be an IT guy and work on IT all the time. Our real vocation is to learn how to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death. So that means that most people are not getting an education. They're just getting what you would call vocation. So look that up. The word vocation. What is vocation?
Strong feeling of suitability for a particular career or occupation.
Say it out loud. I can't hear.
Strong feeling of suitability for a particular career or occupation.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean you're Krishna conscious. It just means you have a strong, uh, uh, a strong attraction to a certain type of activity.
Career or occupation.
Yeah, career or occupation. It doesn't mention love of God, love of Krishna. So ultimately, what is the most important thing in your life? Some people say money. Some people say sense gratification. But a few people say, well, the most important thing in my life is to surrender to the Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna and dedicate my life to serving the Lord. How many people would say that? Not many. But actually, that is the real purpose of life. So today, the concept of real success is not understood. Real success is you study hard, you get good you get good marks, and then you get a good job, and then you get good money, a good house, and a good car. All those things are not eternal. Therefore, you basically wasted your time because you didn't solve the problem of birth, death, old age, and disease. That's the real problem of life. Birth, old age, disease, and death. How am I going to get free of this? Well, you're not going to get free of it by simply becoming an engineer. You might make a living, but you're not going to free yourself from the cycle of birth and death. So therefore, you haven't really been educated. You simply learned how to do a, let's say, a specialty, like being an IT person.
So generally people have herd mentality, Maharaj, like most of this. That's why everybody wants to, oh, they're doing it, so we are also doing it. That kind of, everybody has, most of the people. You don't want to take a risk, I mean, including me also like that. So
What is the
take a
risk?
risk
What is the
against
risk? To
going
become Krishna
against the
conscious?
flow of, against the flow of the general population.
Well, you want to go with the flow, right?
Yeah, most of the people does that, and then they even they are not convinced, but they end up doing that.
Well, let me give you an example. I knew this one family, and the husband and family died. And he was my good friend. Now his wife became a widow, and she had a son. So, and she always depended on her husband. She never, learned to, get a job or anything like that. So myself and another devotee, we supported her financially, and until her son, became an adult. And what happened was that the boy, after going to school and everything, he decided to become a devotee and a brahmachari. And he's still a brahmachari now. He never really, supported his mother, although his mother, raised him, spent money to raise him and everything. But then he became a Hare Krishna devotee and a real full-time devotee. He goes on Sankirtan. Actually, he is a servant of a sannyasi for life. So, was the mother happy with this? Let's ask that question. Well, in this case, yes, she was happy because she's a devotee and her son became a devotee. But other people might not be happy that their son becomes a devotee and basically does not support them financially. So it all depends on the consciousness that a person has. So this boy, he grew up without a father. His father died when he was very young, and his mother took care of him. But it was always difficult, right? And she was being supported by myself and another devotee. And so, anyway, the son grows up and he decides to become a full-time brahmachari. So, but the mother was actually happy because she's a devotee, right? And she didn't complain about it. So it's very strange how things happen in life. But if you're a devotee, then, I mean, you're a devotee, right? What if your son decides to become a full-time devotee? Would you be happy or not? What do you think?
Don't answer what.
Huh?
He doesn't have a son, so he's saying
Yes, yes.
Maharaj, in the case of the mother, who's supposed to take care of the mother? If the son becomes a devotee, and you and a fellow devotee were supporting her, and but you can only do it for a certain time. Who will support that mother? Or who's supposed to support that mother physically?
Well, you would think the son,
Yes, but in this case,
but he's not.
Yeah.
He's not doing it. Yeah, so she eventually, she had never worked in her life, right? She always depended on her husband, then her husband dies. And he died in a very strange way. And then she was left alone. So myself and another devotee, we supported her until her son grew up. But then he became a devotee and he was not able to support her, you know. But she found another way to maintain herself, right? So at first she didn't know what she was going to do, but that's why we supported her financially. But then by the time her son grew up and he became a devotee, she figured out how to maintain herself. In other words, she lived very, very simply. And she also got some help from her parents. And then there was some, some of the parents died and they left some money to her, right? She didn't know that's what was going to be the final, solution to her problem. That's because she depended completely on Krishna. And although she didn't know what was going to happen in the future, we supported, myself and another devotee supported her financially, but her son became educated, but he became a full-time brahmachari. He's still a brahmachari. He never got married. And he's a servant of a sannyasi. And he travels with the sannyasi all the time. So was the mother shocked? At the beginning, she was shocked by that because she was trying to raise her son so that, he would support her in the future. But somehow or other, in a mysterious way, the mother is being supported and the son is a full-time brahmachari, and he's a servant of a sannyasi. Now, the mother was actually happy that he did that. She was not averse to it. Whereas normally, if people would be upset. They raise it, they spend all these years raising the child, they spend so much money and everything, and the child becomes a Hare Krishna devotee and a monk and doesn't have any income, right? He gives everything to the temple. So it's a little shock. It's a big shock for parents.
Yeah, just I think there is also analogy in this comparison here, contrast that let's say a family raise the child materialistically, but then there are families where the child doesn't take care of parents also.
Yeah.
Like in India, that happens quite a bit. Sometimes it's for money or whatever. They walk away from the family. Versus in this case, a child who walked away from his materialistic responsibility, including maybe taking care of his mother, but to serve a higher cause. So there's a big difference.
That's what Lord Chaitanya did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
in America, they will not take care of parents. They will not have money to take care of their life will be running check to check, And,
Yeah.
from
No,
there-
but I think the point though is that in this case, somehow the Krishna is maintaining her in a mysterious way.
Yeah.
That is the thing that we have to understand.
Yeah.
So,
But just one follow-up question, see.
She didn't
everybody-
complain because she saw her son became a full-time devotee.
yeah.
She didn't, whereas other people will complain. They'll say, "Oh, this Hare Krishna movement took my son away from me." You know, whereas they were expecting that the son would go up and take care of the parents.
Maharaj, everyone having a fear that, if tomorrow if I don't have money, how I can survive. That is where everybody chases because unknown, because in this material world, if you don't have money or something, if you become Krishna conscious also, because where to go and stay, who will pay, all the things people are always having that kind of a doubt, Maharaj. How to overcome that.
Chant Hare Krishna and keep chanting. Don't stop.
Until the problem solves.
Well, you have to have faith in Krishna.
Yeah.
Whenever there are difficult situations, you should become more dedicated to Krishna, not less. Some people say, "Oh, I don't believe in God." I prayed to him that my uncle would not die. He was very sick, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and he died. So I don't believe in God anymore. But on the other side, I prayed and I prayed, and my father died. And I'm still praying now that he can be in a good situation. So instead of stopping prayers, one increases the prayers for the welfare of the family, even though the father died. So different ways to look at things. So the devotee has a very positive way of looking at things. And the materialist has a very negative way of looking at things. Like I had an uncle, when I became a devotee, he was really upset, very, very upset. And he expressed it to me. He said, you are a failure. You are a person who has rejected his family, who is not honest, not this, many nots. Right? And he was a very, very, let's say, stubborn person. Right? But I told him, look, I'm not going to change. So you're not going to be able to change me. I said, so, but why don't you take some of this Krishna food? He says, and I brought it for you. He said, no, I'm not going to eat it. So he was a very stubborn guy. So what happened to him? 2 years later, he was dead. Yeah. No, I didn't pray that he would die. But you see, when you have that adamancy, it's like you're hell bent on stopping a person from being Krishna conscious. There are consequences. So it's better. This one lady whose husband died, and then she was devotee, but she didn't have any way of maintaining herself because she never, she always depended on her husband. So myself and another devotee supported her until her son grew up. And he grows up and becomes a brahmachari, full-time brahmachari. But somehow or other, because some I think her mother and father eventually died and left her all their, assets. So in the end, she is not bereft and she's not destitute. She didn't pray that her parents would die and leave her a lot of money, but that's what actually happened. So, and her boy is a brahmachari and he's traveling with a sannyasi. So she's happy because she's a devotee, and she's happy to see that her son became a full-time brahmachari. At first, it was a little bit of a shock for her, but later on, she realized it was a great blessing to have a son who's a full-time devotee. And he's a serious devotee. He'll never fall down. And he's a servant of a sannyasi. So some people would say, "Oh, I don't like the Hare Krishna movement. They took my son away from me." That's one way to look at it. But because she was a devotee, she was ultimately, at first, she was a little bit discouraged, but then she realized that this was a mercy of Krishna, and she was happy that her son became a devotee, and she supported him. And he comes and visits his mother every once in a while, and then he goes off again with the sannyasi. So there's many different ways of seeing things. Darshan, how do you see things? So if you see things from the point of being a devotee, it's different than how materialistic people see things. So the vision of a devotee is always going to be different than the vision of materialistic people. Therefore, the materialistic people always criticize the devotees.
They see this as a failure, Maharaj. If a materialistic person sees this scenario, they
Yeah.
see the mother as a failure.
Yeah.
She didn't work hard she's always dependent on somebody. She didn't do what she needed.
Well, no, the question is this. You have a daughter, right? What if your daughter says, "I want to be like Mataji in the temple, Asawati," right? What would you think? She doesn't want to get married. She wants to be a pujari the rest of her life. What would you think?
Now I'd be okay, Maharaj. But before Krishna consciousness, if I saw somebody like that, I'd say, okay, they're giving up their responsibilities, which they're supposed to do.
What would your husband say?
My husband, he might not like it.
What?
He might not like it.
He might not like
Yeah,
it.
he might not like
You
it.
mean he really wouldn't like it?
It depends on the day. Some days he might like it, some days he might not like it.
Well, it is a shock for some people. You raise a child with a lot of expectations, and then all of a sudden they become a Hare Krishna devotee and they're on Sankirtan the rest of their life. It's pretty hard for some people to swallow that. But for a genuine devotee, they'd be happy because they know my son or my daughter is preparing themselves to go back to Godhead. So I should be happy, not miserable, right? So it all depends on how you see things. So is the glass glass half empty or half full? So positive people say it's half full. Negative people say it's half empty. Right? So we should always see things in a positive way. That is in the Krishna conscious way. Right? So if you've spent your whole life educating your daughter or your son, and then they decide to become a full-time devotee on Sankirtan and not even get married, it could be a real shock, even though you're a devotee. It could be a real shock, But in the long term, I know when I became a devotee, my parents were really shocked and upset. But then I would come periodically and spend time with them and cook for them. And then after a little while, they decided, well, he did make the right decision, and he's a much better person now than he was before, right? So then they supported me after that, and not financially, but they supported the decision I made to become a devotee.
Maharaj, like, while maintaining your, Krishna consciousness, you also did businesses and so on. So, and there are some other devotees,
Yeah.
who just chose to be, purely on the path of devotion, and then basically become a monk. So, can you contrast and tell us, like, what is the right path here, or is that, is there a right or wrong here, or is it?
Well, when my parents saw that I became very wealthy, they were surprised because I started out by being a monk, right? But then when I got married, I had to do something to maintain, being married and having kids, and with 6 kids. Right? So then I became wealthy because I had to maintain my family. So people got confused. Here, here's a monk. He has nothing, and now he has children and a wife, and he's wealthy. So they got confused. They didn't understand how this happened. But then also they saw that I gave most of my money away to the movement. So they were just confused. Yes.
Well, I have a question similar to Prabhu's question.
Yeah.
So, like in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 8, Krishna tells Arjuna to like carry out your prescribed duty,
Yeah.
while fixing your mind on me and my form of Krishna. So is it correct to carry out your duty like as a student or as a college student or as a working person while practicing Krishna consciousness, or is it good to give up everything, or give up your duty and surrender to Krishna?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And when you say give up everything, you don't want to do that. But you give up all mundane activities and dedicate yourself completely to Krishna. Well, that's a big decision to make, especially when you're young. But you can see someone like Mataji in the temple. She's given up everything her whole life and just serving the deities. Is she a success or a failure? Well, she's a great success. So there you have an example of someone who decided to give everything up and just, be a servant of the deities. So is she bereft? Is she unhappy? I don't think so. She's a pretty happy person, right? So you have to look at things through the prism of, is this person happy and satisfied with their life, or are they unhappy and not satisfied? Or a lot of people are unhappy and not satisfied, right? But yet they're stuck. They're in a situation where they can't get out of, and that's why they're unhappy and dissatisfied. But devotees, on a general basis, I'm not saying everyone, but on a general basis, they're happy and they're satisfied with being a devotee, chanting, dancing, feasting, having festivals, and working hard also. So you have basically two prongs or two vocations. One is working to make a living, and the other is engaging in devotional service, right? most people just have one prong, maintaining their family, making money. But you have, as a devotee, you have two prongs. One is, of course, making a living, and the other is engaging in devotional service. So that puts a second level of responsibility that many other people don't have. Yeah. So, are you satisfied with having the two-pronged responsibilities? Whereas most people only have one responsibility, is to maintain themselves, maintain their family, etc. But we not only maintain ourselves, maintain our family, but also we maintain Krishna consciousness. So that added responsibility it can sometimes be a source of dissatisfaction, right? But in other times, it can be one of the only satisfaction to have in your life, you see. So it all depends on the consciousness of the person. So those people who consider it an unnecessary obligation, they leave Krishna consciousness. And other people who consider it a great blessing thrive in Krishna consciousness. So, I mean, I saw a lot of people leave the movement over time for different reasons. But, and Prabhupada said, I'm not surprised by the ones that left. I'm surprised by the ones that stayed. He said that.
And it's not like either choice is okay, because there is an absolute what is the right thing also, right? When Krishna is real and Krishna is sticking to the Krishna consciousness, whether as part of duties or fully dedicated to Krishna, serving Krishna, is better than walking away from Krishna consciousness. I mean, in the absolute sense. It's not like, because this is where like my materialists will describe whatever fits you, you can do it. Like, right, there is no right or wrong, but there is a right or wrong according to Bhagavad Gita. If you are moving away from Krishna, I mean, you might be temporarily happy, but in the long run, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, when you surrender to Krishna, in the beginning, it might be difficult because, there's a question of how am I going to maintain myself? I have a family, how am I going to deal with the family, this and that. But if you surrender honestly to Krishna without any material motive, you'll see that in some mysterious way, everything is going to happen, that you'll be able to maintain yourself and maintain your family and not be completely destitute. You're happy. In other words, without Krishna consciousness, you're unhappy. With Krishna consciousness, even though it's a bigger responsibility, you're very happy. Now, Prabhupada once was giving a lecture, and he looked at the devotees and he pointed at one devotee and said, "Are you happy?" And he said, "No, I'm not happy." And Prabhupada said, "Why is this?" And the devotee said, "I don't know." He said, "Because you're not following properly. That's why you're unhappy. If you follow Krishna consciousness correctly, you will be happy because Krishna consciousness is full of joy. Right? It's a joyful, what is that? Yeah, it's a scum cartoon. Yeah. Krishna consciousness is joyful. If you practice it correctly, it's joyful. if you're engaged in illicit activities and at the same time trying to be a devotee, it's not fun. But if you give up sense gratification and engage in Krishna conscious activities, it's a lot of fun. You're always happy. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just to, what I understood from the answer you gave to Akshara is the two choices that, or the two things that she asked, right? One is having material job and doing all the devotional service, right? That is one part. You hold a material job, but you do devotional service. The second part is you don't hold a material job, you're dedicated 100% to the moment. You work only for the moment, Krishna consciousness. Both parts are okay, but you have to pick one which makes you happy and satisfied. Is that how we should think about it? That's what I understood from your answer.
Prabhupada was had a job, he had 5 kids, maintained his family, and when his kids were grown, he took sannyas and left. Now, were his kids satisfied with that? Yeah, one of them was a very nice person. I spent a little time with him. Prabhupada's one son. The others were not so happy, and his wife was not so happy, right? And they actually tried to take over all the assets of ISKCON on the plea that their father started ISKCON. So they are the direct heirs of his achievements. So they tried they went to court and tried to take over all the assets of ISKCON. Only in India would they do that. Of course, they failed, but the devotees had to spend a lot of money in going to court and trying to prove to them that their father, Prabhupada left all his assets to ISKCON, not to his children.
This is after Prabhupada left his body.
Yes, yeah. No, they wouldn't have done that while Prabhupada.
You get taken a boy.
Yeah. So it took years, by the way, to solve that issue. In the end, the devotees gave some money to the family to settle it. I don't know, I forget how much, but it was a large amount of money that they gave to solve for them to stop, the law, the
lawsuit.
Settlement.
Only in India and only in Krishna conscious do you see situations like this. Yeah. Yes.
So when Krishna said Sarva Dharma Pratyaja in the 18th chapter, still doesn't mean that we should give up the duty. Like Arjuna did not stop fighting even after Krishna said Sarva Dharma Pratyaja Mamakunja.
Okay, well, just like during the Battle of Kurukshetra, people took sides. Right? So it was out of duty to take sides. Even though they knew it was wrong, to be opposing to the Pandavas. They knew it was wrong, but they were duty bound. And they knew that they would be killed. But they would be killed by Krishna. So they did not think it was a mistake. Because if you're killed by Krishna, obviously you go back to the spiritual world right away. So sometimes we get in these situations where we might be on the wrong side. Right? So if you're on the wrong side with devotees, genuine devotees, it's okay. If you're on the wrong side with bad people, it's not okay. So you have to be careful who you choose to follow. So if you follow devotees, even if they're on the wrong side of some issue, still you will be successful in your life. But the best thing is to be on the right side. Yeah. So even though the right side looks like it's going to fail, you should still be on the right side and not be disturbed by it. Yeah, yes.
Krishna Maharaj, in the case of Duryodhana,
Yeah.
Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, they are duty bound. They knew they were going against Krishna, but they're doing a lot of duty. And they knew, okay, if I be killed by Krishna, that is okay. But Duryodhana was not. But he didn't see it that way. He's not doing it out of duty. He's doing it more out of greed.
Doing what?
Out of greed, like whatever decisions he took, it was
Yeah.
more out of greed and lust. And he didn't see that as, oh, Krishna is our God, it's okay if I get killed by Krishna. I don't, that's not what I got from Mahabharata. But even he got liberation, because everybody in that war got liberated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he wasn't duty bound, and he didn't see Krishna as God. How come he still got liberated?
Because you saw Krishna.
Because he was in the presence of Krishna.
Yeah. So Krishna is not mean, he's merciful. The people sometimes they paint the picture of a mean God, right? But Krishna is not a mean God, he's very merciful. Right? So it's like Prabhupada, some devotees revolted against Prabhupada. They tried to take over the movement and reject Prabhupada. But after that was settled, Prabhupada forgave them and gave them services to do so they could rectify themselves. Right? And he didn't, want to have what you would call vengeance. He was not vengeful. He was very merciful. So that's a real sadhu, a real devotee. He didn't hold any grudges, and he was always merciful, even the people that went against him. Yeah, the devotees, they tried to, first of all, they sequestered Prabhupada. They made him like put him like in a jail, right? Not a karmic jail, but they tied him up in a sense in a room, so he couldn't communicate with the other devotees. So he tolerated that, although it was a very, very, nasty thing to do. And then he got in touch with one of the devotees that he trusted very much, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, to come and take him away. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj came and took Prabhupada away. And those people that tried to take over the movement, they eventually regretted what they did, and Prabhupada forgave them. He didn't take any action against them. He didn't reject them. Just see all the things Prabhupada had to go through to maintain this movement. So sometimes, you raise a child, and the child grows up and becomes antagonistic toward you. It's very hard to tolerate such situations. But if you tolerate in the long term and pray for the welfare of your child, in the long term, the child will understand, but it might take a long time. And that's because of bad association. So the fact that the child grew up and became inimical to you, it's your own fault because you put them into the public school system. And public school system means that your child is going to be associating with demoniac children and teachers for prime time, from 8 in the morning till 4 or 5 in the afternoon, right? So in prime time, they're associating with demons. So it's your fault because you put them in the school. It's a mistake to put your children in the Karmi schools. But then you say, well, I'm working, I don't have time to educate my children, blah, blah, blah. No, you have to make time and protect your child. You don't just put your child into the association of people who are not holy, who don't have the same values that you do. Obviously, the child's going to be influenced by them. And eventually, they might even reject Krishna consciousness, thinking that it's not their way of life. Right? So, but why? It's because you put them in that bad association. Everything depends on association. So, there's so many hard decisions that people have to make in life in order to protect your children. And if you can't make those decisions properly, then the result that you were hoping for might not happen. And then you'll feel sorry, but now it's too late. Right? Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Okay, so our takeaway today is from Canto 4, Chapter 7, verse number 50, right?
Yeah.
Thus, the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energies. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both the cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman, Sarvam Klav, Idam Brahman. In the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman. And therefore, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him. So when it says Brahman, it means Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is simultaneously one and different. Everyone understands oneness. Everyone understands different. But very few people understand one and different at the same time. So that is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. The truth is simultaneously one and different. Now you think about that and try and read some things to try and understand what that means, and we'll discuss it more tomorrow. What does this mean? One and different. Hare Bol.